There's not one, not two, but three new Rebug firmwares that just dropped for 482. We're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about each one of the three. We're also going to cover whether or not you should update, some of the pros and some of the cons, and we'll cover some of the scenarios in which you would want to or may not want to update. We'll also talk about the toolboxes that have been updated with these firmwares and what you're going to need to do with that, as well as maybe one or two other apps, and give you some maybe tips or hints regarding how to update as well. And all of that is coming up next. Hey guys, welcome to the video. And yeah, here today we're going to be covering primarily on the new firmwares that were released by Rebug, but we're also going to be talking about a couple other things. So before we get started, let me go ahead and just let you know that this is only for people who have a actual full and real jailbroken PS3. Those of you running the Han version 3.0 exploit, this is not for you because unfortunately you can't install custom firmware on your systems. And now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and let's eliminate one of these three new firmwares. I can tell you right now that you will not be using the DECR version of Rebug. That's because this is really, if my memory serves me correctly, a PS3 system that's a DECR is a development kit type PS3, and I'm pretty sure you don't have access to that. If you did and you had one of these, you A, would know it, and B, you wouldn't need to ever watch my videos. So the mere fact you're watching this video means you don't need this firmware. You can go ahead and skip it. What pertains to you is the Rex and the DREX. Alright, so once we click here, let's go ahead and on the next page, let's scroll all the way down to the bottom, and there you will see the two firmwares and the toolbox. There's the Rex firmware, the DREX, and the toolbox. You must use this toolbox with either one of these two custom firmwares. So make sure that any older toolbox you have installed, that you go ahead and delete it and then install this one. Now, as a rule of thumb, normally, at least for me, although you may not have to, but I've always done it this way and never had any issues, I usually always turn off Cobra. If you have Webman in your toolbox, then disable that as well. If you've changed the mode in the toolbox from like normal to Rebug, put it back to normal, and then go ahead and reboot the system. And then once that's done, then I delete the toolbox and I install the newer one, and then I activate all those things again after I've installed the CFW of choice. So the Rex edition is a hybrid like it was in 481. Once you install this, you can convert it over to DEX and then back again. I did a video showing you how to do that. This will install right over any CFW that's KEX from 355 all the way up to 482. This one is designed, the DREX, only for systems that are currently actually on DEX. It will install over any DEX custom firmware that's 481 or lower. Now, I know some of you might be asking, wait a second, you said you can install this over, any firmware that's, 482 or lower, but I happen to have a Rebug that says 4.82.2, the light version, and it's higher than these. Do I have to downgrade in order to be able to install these? And the answer is no. As a matter of fact, you can install Rex, the Rex version that just came out, over any one of the two light versions of Rebug that you may have installed. So there's Rebug 4.82.1 Lite and there's 4.82.2 Lite. Both of these do not have DEX. They are both KEX. So that means you would install the 482.1 Rex version right over them and you're not going to have any issues. Oh, and before I forget, if you have a spoofer that is running, don't forget to turn that off and disable it before you install firmware. If you don't, and you try and install firmware while you're running a spoofer, you can run into some serious issues. And by the way, if you're in DEX, you should not be running a spoofer to begin with anyway. All right, so the next question, of course, is, well, should I update? Is it worth it? And what are the benefits if I do? Well, here's the thing, guys. Um, Back in the day, when we had new games coming out that required higher firmware, when a bunch of these homebrews were coming out and were new, or were getting updates that were taking advantage of the newer stuff in the newer custom firmwares, if we wanted to play these new games online, we needed to be, on custom firmware that was up to date or spoofed up to date or whatever. Anyway, there were several reasons why we needed to be up to date. Today is totally different. We haven't had any new games worth playing in what, 2, 3, maybe even 4 years. All the games that we're playing online are old games that are already a few years old or older. These apps, the ones that get updated like mana guns and whatnot, they will work. Mana guns 132 will work on 481. It'll work on 480. It works on 470. RetroArch will work on 481, 482, 470. So, it just depends on you whether you want to update at this point or not. If we were getting new custom firmware that was just constantly getting new features, if we were getting a bunch of newer games that required higher firmware, then maybe yeah. But it's not like that anymore. The PS3's manufacturing cycle is over. You can pretty much, if you're happy where you're at, you can stay there for pretty much forever. I mean, I'm on 481. I have Multiman 481, Irisman 481. Multiman 482 works the same as Multiman 481. It works the same as Multiman 480. Irisman 482 works the same as Irisman 481 and 480, and so on. So is there a need now to update? No, it's really not necessary, and it's just a matter of preference. I think only the people who are on KEX should update to 482. That way you don't have to use a spoofer. And if you update, then make sure that you update those couple of programs that are dependent more on the higher updated firmware. So if you update to 482, make sure you have Irisman 482 and Multiman 482. There's also a new Webman mod 147.08, which by the way will work on older firmwares as well. But yeah, you may want to check that out. So anyway, guys, it's totally up to you. If you're happy right where you're at, there really is no need to update, and unless something dramatic happens on the homebrew scene, well, then you could probably stay there for the rest of the life of your PS3. Keep in mind also, if you decide to update, there are a couple of things that are CFW dependent. So this CFW extras category mod, for example, only works on 481, so it wouldn't work on 482 or 480 or any of those. But yeah, that's one of the exceptions to the rules. So anyway, guys, that's about it. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe, and we'll be seeing you soon on the next video.